Welcome to Encroachment Sports Talk. We're going to talk this episode about our midseason or slightly past midseason NFL awards. And we're going to jump right in with the MVP. In terms of my vote, I think it's a super close race right now between Patrick Mahomes, Tua, and Jalen Hurts. But I'm going to give it to Patrick Mahomes because he's shown one ability that Tua has not shown so far this season. Chris, what do you think that ability is?
He can run down the field.
That's a good one. That's not what I was thinking of. Jeff, do you have another?
I don't have any.
The one ability, it's the most important ability of any athlete. It's availability. He's played all 10 games. Tua has missed 3. So
I was never going to answer that one, John.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, whatever you do, don't quit your day job, man. That was terrible.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Anyway, no, that's a widely known adage. The most important ability for an athlete is availability. If Tua had played all 10 games, I even a non-biased person would admit he's hands down MVP because he's undefeated in games he started and finished, and he would have all the most passing yards. He's got the highest rating. That said, he hasn't been there. They lost all 3 games when he wasn't there. I think as the season progresses, if he continues at this pace, he may have a serious case for MVP. But at this point, I'm giving it to Mahomes. Jeff, how about you? What are your thoughts?
Man, I tell you, you hit the nail on the head. So I also have Mahomes as my leading candidate for MVP. Looking at the numbers right now, through 11 games, he has over 2,900 yards passing, 25 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, 78.6 QBR rating. And he has also rushed for 215 yards and 1 touchdown. So individual stats and team success, he's a clear favorite. He's also an easier schedule of the remaining defense. Of the remaining others that you mentioned as candidates, he has one of the easier schedule. But the big takeaway here that I wanted to point out, everyone thought that Mahomes would somewhat regress, right? With no Tyreek Hill, that somewhere along the line, he'll take a step backwards. And that's not the case. With Andy Reid and that collective cast of individuals that they have definitely stepped and maintained those offensive numbers at what they are currently. So I know, Mark, you got Tyreek Hill over there in Miami, and you're pretty ecstatic and pretty excited. But Mahomes, at this moment, he has done it without Tyreek Hill and with an assembled cast so far through 11 games.
That's a great point. That's why I gave Mahomes the nod over Hurts, who's also got the best record in the league. But I would say that he's got a better defense on his side with the Eagles, and he also has with Brown and the Slim Reapers got a better receiving crew. So that's why I gave it to Mahomes as well. Chris, do you have?
And Mark, in addition to, right, when I look at Josh Allen and Buffalo, like what has not helped Josh Allen's case is the fact that he lost to the Vikings, he lost to the Jets, he lost to the Dolphins. Right. And Tua as well, no fault of his own. He has not played the same amount of games. Back to availability discussion, right? Mm-hmm. So, again, Tua, no fault of his own, but you got to be able to play those respective games, and that further cement your MVP candidacy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to dissent from you two experts. I'm actually giving it to Josh Allen right now, and I'll tell you why. Talk about availability. This guy has a pretty significant arm injury and is playing through it. I don't know if you watched the Thanksgiving game, but he missed some throws, but when he was needed, he brought him back. That pass to Diggs 40 yards was a dart. And the guy is just tough. I mean, he runs, he doesn't seem to care about his own health or longevity or any of that. I mean, he's my MVP now. Obviously the candidates that you mentioned, Mahomes would be my second pick there, but 23 touchdowns, 3,000 plus yards, 5 touchdowns on the ground, 500 plus yards running. I mean, he's my MVP, and it's because of his toughness and his availability. He's made himself available, and the fact he's had 3 comeback wins. So that's why I go with that one.
Interesting. Yeah, I can't get over how he gifted the Dolphins a victory with just a horrible pat. He basically choked on a wide open out that would have given them the lead. So,
Yeah.
and he's just kind of with his same as Tua. I think had he been healthy, they probably would have taken care of the Vikings, and he would have been in my discussion as well. But that's a good point.
But he played.
Yep. Chris, how about I'm wondering here if we're going to get another clean sweep. Who do you got for defensive player of the year?
Yeah, this one I think we're all probably going to agree. Michael Parsons is the guy, right? I mean, there's no question. I mean, he's and I saw him in person when they just dominated the Vikings. I mean, the stats from that game alone speaks volumes. 9 pressures, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and he had a 31% pressure rate. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's like, I don't think I have anybody on my whole team that's done that the whole year, and he did it in 1 game. Yeah. So anyway, he's a clear favorite, Mike.
I second that. I was really wondering what McCarthy was thinking in the Packers game when he was lining him up off the line of scrimmage and trying to get fancy, and I think that cost him the game there. And he's at 12 sacks already. He probably would be at 14. He seems to get a couple a game. And yeah, he had that little lull a few games ago, and I think that was just McCarthy trying to get cute. So I second that very strongly. Jeff, I'm sure in your anti-Cowboy bias, you'll come up with some other random candidates.
He's going to pick Thibodeau or something, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, unfortunately, I can't agree with both of you. I understand Michael Parsons and also Nick Bosa, they're great candidates, but I'm leaning on the side of caution, and yes, this might be a long shot, but I'm going to say it anyway, right? And bash this selection over the head here, but I'm going with Matthew Judon, right? Here's a guy that's he went over from the Patriots, well, not the Patriots, but from the Ravens to the Patriots, right? Judon has absolutely thrived in Bill Belichick's system, right? Yep. Here's Bill Belichick, new look Patriot defense over the last few years, and right now, Judon is that guy in that Patriot defense. He leads the league in sack, 11.5 and counting. He's third only to Bosa and Washington Commanders' Montez Sweat in quarterback hits. He has 19 and counting. And he's also 5th in tackles for losses greater than 10 yards. I know it's kind of a wild stab at picking Judon, but I think his 44 quarterback pressures right now, which is also 5th in the league, I think he has a great chance in winning Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I think it's close. He certainly terrorized the Vikings as well. So
I think that's definitely a good sleeper candidate. He's come out of, I don't want to say nowhere, but he's really impressed this year. So good call. Jeff, who do you have for Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Offensive Rookie of the Year. My God, Dameon Pierce.
Yeah, I agree.
Houston, Texas, 165 carries today, which is 3rd in the league, 772 yards, 6th in the league, 3rd in rushing touchdown, right? Or 3 rushing touchdowns, tied for 22nd, and 4.7 average per carry. Going into the season, we expected nothing out of Houston, right? And here we are. They have made a selection, drafted a rookie running back, and they have a cornerstone to their respective franchise here for the next 10 years if he can stay healthy.
It's the wrong way to build a team.
Houston thought coming into the season was going to be Rex Burkhead. That immediately changed once they saw what Dameon Pierce has to offer.
Yeah. So, Chris, do you second that?
I do. I mean, the one thing that Jeff mentioned that I don't agree with is, and you kind of mentioned it, which is how to build a franchise. I mean, running backs have a shelf life for like 5 years. Yeah. He'd be remarkable to have a 10-year career. But Jeff, he's been your guy forever. You've called him for, I don't know, for about a month now. You've been talking about Dameon Pierce, and he is very impressive. He's my candidate too, because the Texans are almost historically poor. and you throw him behind that line, he's their offense. So, that's why I give the nod to him. I just don't know that, he'll be good and very good for 5 years. Hopefully they build that lineup and put a passing threat around him as well. He has no quarterback.
Yeah, you have to look no further than your New York Giants to look at the wrong way to build a team. You do not start with your franchise running back. I'm sorry, you just don't. You get your quarterback, you get your line. Well, you get your line, you get your quarterback, then you add running backs. If you even want to invest in a running back, I would never go first round pick with a running back.
Mark, we're talking about Houston here. Nothing happens positive for Houston. So for us to be here talking about Houston Texans as having a key marquee player for fans to go out and watch, all right, the question I have for both you and Chris is, what else is out there right now in Houston for us to even have any form of discussion about?
Yeah, so we digress, and that was
the
my
Astros
fault for taking off tangent. I actually had two. I had a co-offensive rookie of the year, Pierce being one of them, but I think Chris Olave, and because I want to be a contrarian, I'm gonna go with him to get my nod, because he's putting up equally impressive stats in a harder position to master. Rookie receivers generally don't burst on the scene as quickly as rookie running backs, and Olave has got 760 yards receiving for 11th in the NFL, despite the fact that they've had a lot of injuries. Michael Thomas has been out the whole year, and they've had other injuries, and so he's the man out there, and he's still kind of getting it done and getting stronger as the season goes on. So again, co-offensive rookie of the years, but just so that Damian Pierce doesn't get a big head, I'll give my nod to Olave.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. The problem with Olave I have is he's got a little bit of the injury bug already. He's not been available a couple times.
The old availability thing.
Yeah, the availability thing.
Availability, Mark.
And Jeff, you always said, what else would we talk about in Houston? The Astros, my friend. The Astros. So.
Oh, okay. So we have not yet had a clean sweep. I think we're going to get a clean sweep here. Defensive rookie of the year, Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, no doubt. Jeff, you got a problem with that, or you still digesting the Astros comment?
No, Sauce Gardner is my pick. Come on, you got to give it to a guy that goes by the name of Sauce. But he has been lights out for the Jets. Gardner has quickly established himself as one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He has allowed no more than 50 receiving yards in any game this season.
They don't throw his way. He's already earned the utmost respect, and that nobody throws his way anymore.
Yeah. So the stat
no one throws his way.
Yep. The stat that pops. He's a true shutdown cornerback, right? You don't see many of those anymore. The stat that pops.
And it's funny because even as a rookie right now, he's number 4. Right, as cornerbacks being rated in the NFL right now as a rookie. He's been lights out. He's amazing.
So the one stat, number 1 in the NFL, 14 passes defensed. Come on now. That's shutdown corner territory right there. And the Jets are able to do so much with that defense based on the fact that he can take away your best receiver. So
yeah, that's huge. Good. So we have a sweep. Let's go to Chris. Who's your call for coach of the year? This is a real close race, I would say. Who do you got?
Yeah, well, I thought that the most interesting thing, this is almost like hitting the lottery, because the 3 of us have 3 candidates for coach of the year, our 3 teams, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got McDaniel, you got Dable, and you also have O'Connell. Those are all in the conversation, which is remarkable that all 3 of us would have that happening the same year, right? But I'm not going with them. Because I want to be non-homerish, but I also think there's a candidate that kind of rises above that, and that's Nick Sirianni out of Philly. And I think he's just done a phenomenal job. And you just go to Hurts. Hurts is a different player this year than he was last year, and I think he has a lot to do with that. So that's my pick. Good call. Jeff, who do you got?
I got Mike Daniels. Mike McDaniels.
Oh, but are you kidding me? You just want to, did Mark forget to send you a Christmas present or something? Jesus.
No.
Mark promised
nothing of such. I just think that it's you lose your quarterback for almost 4 games, right? and got it. You went on a losing streak, but he has find a way to keep this team together. He has kept this team motivated, even despite the distractions of the concussion, the whole franchise, and everything else that's going on there in Miami. He has done a wonderful job of keeping that team together. And Duvall, yeah, I got it, right? He is my guy, but at the same time, I don't think he has dealt with all the intricacies of the whole concussion discussion compared to McDaniels. I just think that based on how McDaniels himself has handled the off the field stuff, including the on the field stuff, he is legitimate as a coach of the year candidate.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's a really good point. What are your thoughts, Mark? I mean, that's your team. So
yeah, I really wish we had we were planning, for those of you who are listening, we were planning on doing this episode last week. We had some scheduling issues, so we had to push it back a week. And at the time, my call was going to be Brian Duvall. Did I get the first name right?
Yeah.
But I was going to say, look, he's done the most with the least. He's got his team at 7 wins. He's doing that despite never being able to pass downfield, but he's not going to win it at the end of the year. I was going to say he is, it's about to hit midnight on him. He's about to turn into a pumpkin, and they've lost the last two weeks. So I would have looked like Nostradamus there for a minute. Getting back to your question, I also give it to McDaniel. And I think, again, I think it's close between the 3 candidates you mentioned and also Sirianni. I think Kevin O'Connell some of the luster has come off the last 2 weeks with the beatdown they took to the Cowboys, but that's the ebb and flow of the NFL. He's in the mix as well. I also would give it to McDaniel because he's doing it on 2 levels. His offensive play calling is just unreal. I mean, part of the reason Tua is excelling, a lot of the reason is he's figured out a system that works to Tua's strengths, something Brian Flores absolutely, refused to even try. And he's just, I mean, as a Dolphin fan, they're just a pleasure to watch this offense. It's like, I sometimes question whether he should go for it on 4th down, that kind of thing. But the play calls he makes are just, you never know what to expect. They can run anything out of any of the formations. They have so much motion going on, and they're just confusing their opponents. And they just drive down the field with ease. And, I don't mind penalties because I feel we've all had good offenses over the years that we've been fans. And when you get a holding penalty on 1st down and it doesn't deter you, you don't think the drive is over, your offense is onto something, right? So I feel that a bit about Miami. But Jeff hit the other nail on the head, which is that team is playing with a relaxed confidence. They love to be together. His personality, he's like the anti Brian Flores and the anti Belichick tree. And it's just a pleasure. I think these guys, and it's something I think the Niners have a bit of. They've talked about it with the Niners as well. They have that chemistry, and it's kind of a special thing that you hope it leads to something. So I do give the nod to McDaniel as well, but it's tight. It is tight.
I agree with both of you guys. I mean, I could go either way with this, but one of the things I see as like a general trend in the NFL is these younger coaches that actually can connect on a personal level. You're seeing it not only with O'Connell, McDaniel, Daboll to a certain extent. By the way, Jeff, Daboll gets the trophy for the best kind of meltdown on the sideline. I don't know if you saw the Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
I thought he was going to have a stroke, for God's sakes. It was watching a medical emergency. But anyway, I think that's a whole new trend in the NFL. You've got to be able to, these a lot of these players are young. They need that kind of interaction. They're in the social media kind of different world, and they need that kind of structure and touch, if you will. The disciplinarian stuff, unless you're a Belichick, may not work going forward. So anyway, I concur with both your thoughts on that as well.
All right, we're down to one last award, and that's Comeback Player of the Year. And Jeff, we already know who you're picking. So Chris, who do you have?
So actually, I'll give Jeff a little bit of play here. I was thinking about Barkley, but my guy is Geno Smith. I mean, This guy is 32 years young. Where did he come from? I haven't heard his name in 5 years at least.
Yeah.
So, and he's actually moved this Seahawks team into playoff contention. He's got what, 17 TDs, 4 interceptions. I mean, 6-4 Seahawks. I mean, I just think nobody saw this coming, or maybe somebody did. I guess, you know, Pete Carroll saw it, but nobody else saw it coming.
Yeah, that is crazy. I agree with you. What interesting enough though, as I was thinking through this, if it were a vote for who is the team MVP, or, you know, who gets the MVP, I'd give it to Saquon, because if you take him off the Giants and you take Smith off the Seahawks, I think the Giants have a further drop off. I think he's super important to that team. I just think I agree with you. Geno Smith at the quarterback position has his team in, you know, first place in the division. We're tied for it. So I gave a narrow nod to Geno Smith over Saquon as well. Jeff, what are your thoughts? Did you pick Saquon as we expect, or you're going to surprise us?
No, not this time around. I also picked Geno Smith.
Oh, wow.
How can you not be impressed with what Geno Smith and the Seahawks are currently doing? He's a starter for the first time since 2014. Like he was 8 years removed from being a starter. Smith is an opening day starter. Who would have thought that coming into the season, right? He had started a combined 4 games since 2015. Let that sink in. And here he is in 2022, heading into 2023 as a potential Pro Bowler, right? Mm-hmm. That to me is one of the biggest comeback stories we can actually discuss and say, hey, and I got it, Saquon coming off a terrible injury, and there's a couple other candidates that are out there, but I am so impressed with what Geno Smith has done this season. It's unheard of. And let me throw this in there. It is so hard to replace a Super Bowl winning quarterback, right? He was falling in, not behind some washed up quarterback, but he's the guy that was hand selected to replace Russell Westbrook.
Wilson.
Or Russell Wilson. So here he is, identified to fill big shoes. And my God, he has done a wonderful job of filling the shoes vacated by Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that's well put.
Agreed.
Yeah, well put.
Yeah,
we all agree on that. That's very rare we build consensus on that, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I didn't think he would be our sweep. We got the same with Sauce Gardner. So, but this is a really exciting season down the stretch. The Coach of the Year, MVP race, and you know who's going to win the Super Bowl. This is it's more up for grabs than it's been in a long time. So, thank you, gentlemen, and we'll be back again soon.
Sounds good.